the end of the day, all that personal development is providing techniques, tools, experiences that allow you to see something you couldn't see before.
Hold on real quick. I noticed that only 3% of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed. Could you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps the channel tremendously. And the bigger that the channel gets, the better the podcast will get. I appreciate you and enjoy the video.
You're not here on earth to avoid the resistance. Resistance is necessary for growth. There's nothing on this planet that doesn't grow through resistance. That's the thing. Gravity is resistance that strengthens our muscles. We are constantly looking for ways to get stronger as human beings. We do that, right? But resistance is that way. And then when it comes in the form of emotional resistance, we avoid it. And I mean, as a society, we have built a society that tries so hard to make it as easy as possible to avoid those uncomfortable feelings. And yet, that's the growth. And so your soul is always going to leave you breadcrumbs in the direction of discomfort. It's outside your comfort zone, totally. But if you lean into that and you say, oh, this is that spot where my discomfort meets my excitement, that's how I know. That's how I know there's the magic in there.
Feels like discomfort meets fear. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. What's cool is what I love about this, and I'll let you know when it's happening, because I'm designing a 2-day event right now that uses performance as personal development.
Okay.
So it's not about becoming a better performer traditionally. It's about what comes up in the performing and that aspect of being on stage and on camera, and being able to identify and move through and expand and transform into the next version of who you're here to be through that as a modality. And so I'll let you know about it because I think you'll love it.
Can you give me a quick, just deeper dive into that? So how does performance help you personally develop? Yeah.
So just using you as an example.
Okay.
The idea, if I said, cool, tonight I have an event that I'm doing here in Austin. I'm on stage, I have the thing, but I want you to come and do the first 15 minutes. I want you to open up and you're going to tell your story and the whole thing. And there's going to be like 500 people. So yeah. So what just happened right now? People can't see you, but like what just happened?
Oh, they can see me on that camera. I'm gonna make sure they can. I opened up my eyes very wide.
Yeah.
And what happened, it brings me back to school, man. Whenever I had a class project, I've almost been in tears having to speak in front of a crowd. And what is the thing that's going through your mind when you're in fear about doing it? I don't want to mess up. I don't want to look stupid. Perfect. I mean, what happens if you mess up and look stupid? What happens? They're going to laugh at me. Okay. And if they laugh at you, what happens? Then, I'm going to feel terrible about it. Okay. And then you feel terrible because they're laughing at you. Yeah. Right? And then what would happen? Yeah, life does go on. I understand that. No, I'm not even getting to the life goes on. Like, what would happen? Truly, what do you think would happen if you're being laughed at by everyone? What would happen to me or just in general? In life? Like, what's the idea that you have? I mean, I definitely could just internalize that and feel stupid, feel like I'm less than, perfect. Or maybe emote rather than feel. Okay. So this isn't a coaching session, but like I'll give you an example of where this can go. Okay. And not saying this is you, but the idea of performing on stage is I could mess up and be laughed at. The moment that I can be messed up and laughed at, I'm going to be outcast. The moment that I'm outcast, I'm going to feel really terrible about myself. When I feel terrible about myself, I'm going to lose all my motivation to do anything, really. And if I lose my motivation to do anything, then I'm going to blank. And you can keep going down that thread. That doesn't have to be logical.
And that's where the logical mind kicked in when you were saying, oh no, I get it. Life goes on. That's the logical part. But this isn't about logic. This is the little boy in you that's afraid that messing up on stage equals being depressed and killing yourself. Like that's literally what mine was. Mine was that if I lose my motivation, it was different. It wasn't through acting, but if I lose my motivation, I'm not going to have value, which I touched on earlier. And if I don't bring value to the world, blank, 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 and it eventually led to me being depressed again. And my fear was that if I got that depressed again, I wouldn't make it out this time. And so suddenly this thing over here, like performing at an event, the fear that's coming up is actually killing myself. And that interesting tether that's created. And so that's an example of what I mean about you didn't even have to perform. Just the idea of performing activated a fear in you that's tied to something deep and tied to your childhood, et cetera, et cetera. And so imagine now what comes up when you actually have to do it. And so performance, being on stage, being on camera, writing something that you then have to perform, all of that to me can be a very powerful modality. Because personal development, bro, at the end of the day, all that personal development is providing techniques, tools, experiences that allow you to see something you couldn't see before. And then ideally help you handle that.
100%.
Right?
Right. And, you know, as you actually explain this, one of the things that, again, this is me facing my fear, but one of the things that I've done at my very first podcast, maybe 2 podcasts, what I used to do is try to edit out my stutters, edit out ways that make me look stupid. And very shortly after, probably episode 3, I'm like, you know, I'm going to stop doing that because I want something to look back on and see where I'm going to be at episode 50, where I'm going to be at episode 100. So it's consciously figuring out, okay, I do not want to look stupid, but it's important to go through those growing pains and be able to actually be proud, like, oh, I used to talk like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I also think it's interesting because sometimes what we feel is looking stupid is actually looking human. And so the idea that I don't want to look stupid cuts us off from actually looking human, which is the thing that people connect to. And because they connect to it, they project themselves into it. Because they project themselves into it, they actually receive it at an emotional level. Because they receive it at an emotional level, they actually shift. Catalytic change in someone's life happens at an emotional level, not a cerebral level. We don't think ourselves into major catharsis. We can think our way to a place where then we feel something, but there's always an emotional component to the things that really change us and shift us. And in order for us to have that emotional component, we need to feel connection. And so I love what I gather from you is your dedication to excellence. You want to be great.
100%.
I can see that. Like you want to be great, the way that you study, the way the professionalism of how you do everything from what I've observed, and your mindset for breaking down the ways in which you can get better. You're destined. Like you just keep doing that, you will accomplish all the things you want and more. And the other aspect to that is the grace for the human that we are, you know?